Lioness looks proud and also like she hasn't slept since 1976. Well, that was the wild week that was. We hope you enjoyed the rollicking wild ride. I certainly did. Until next time, here is your wilderness wisdom for the week. This time, it's an old African proverb. The name of the author is unknown, possibly because his understanding of lion biology was poor and resulted in his being eaten. Here we go. If you wrestle a lion, do not expect applause from the antelope. Good night.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole on this beautiful Saturday morning. So we're starting today off at Old Donyo Lodge in Kenya. So my name is Johan Herbst. I'm the owner of this voice. I'll be your presenter for today. Just a quick reminder that this is a live and interactive experience. So we love to hear from you. So please send your comments or questions through on our app or our website. And yeah, the details will be displayed on the screen below. So you can use our various platforms to communicate with us. So today we're imagining that what this very spot would look like after dark. So our theme is nocturnal animals, so the fascinating creatures that come to life when we go to sleep. So at night the waterhole becomes a completely different world, and you might see a leopard passing by, or a hyena calling in the distance, or even an owl swooping down for its prey. So I want to hear from you what other animals we would expect to see, and maybe what nocturnal animals would you like to see. So please send your comments through. So it looks like we just have a lone giraffe over here and an eland that just went out of picture over there. And a lone elephant dung patty over there. And we also have a gemsbok joining us in picture over here, or a fringe-eared oryx, more correctly. Some beautiful trees in the background, some umbrella thorns, very iconic tree of Africa. It's even used as the logo for First National Bank, a bank in South Africa. So it looks like something has got these giraffes' attention. So they seem to be just cautious or wary of something in the distance. can see they're just approaching the waterhole with caution. Even this oryx is also a little bit alerted to something. You can see the giraffe using its high vantage point to be able to look far into the distance. It can see things that the other animals like the oryx and zebra and impala wouldn't be able to see. So Gator Girl is asking, are honey badgers nocturnal? And yes, so mostly you'll find that honey badgers are active at night. You do sometimes see them during the day, but very rarely. But yes, they are nocturnal. So thanks for the question, Gator Girl. It's quite quiet today. Would have expected more people to greet by now, but it is a Saturday, so I imagine many people would be perhaps going to parks and to wildlife areas themselves. Maybe during the week it's nice to just admire the wildlife from the comfort of your home. Maybe sneakily watch a bit of Wild Earth while you're at work, or maybe you work from home and you watch a little bit of Wild Earth. Oh, they're so comical, these giraffe, to observe when they're drinking. It seems so awkward and uncomfortable for them to bend down to drink. So Boyson is asking, how do giraffes sleep? And so giraffe, they fold their legs in, but they always keep their necks and their heads upright. So they're able to sleep by tucking their legs in, but their neck always has to be upright, and that's got to do with the blood pressure, because if they lay down, then because they have these very large hearts, sometimes they can weigh up to 15 kilograms in large giraffe. And so this is, of course, the large heart relative to their body size is, of course, to pump all that blood under or to the head, which obviously has to travel against gravity a great distance before reaching the brain. So there's an incredibly high blood pressure that the giraffe have, and so if they lay with their neck and their head on the ground, then it could cause some issues for them, cause a lot of blood to the brain, and it just wouldn't work. So Jive Bunny 1329 is saying, the big Ellies haven't arrived yet. Giraffe can enjoy the Old Donya waterhole. So definitely when the Ellies aren't around, the other animals aren't as anxious, I guess you could call it, or as alert on their toes, because the elephants can be quite rude sometimes and bully them away from the waterhole. So So yeah, that is nice that the giraffe and the impala and oryx are able to just enjoy this waterhole in peace. So Mercedes Bean says, greetings Wild Earth crew and chatters, happy Saturday. And a very happy Saturday to you too, Mercedes Bean. Thank you for your comment. So Rob Mac Oz says, hi Johan and Wild Earth crew, nice to be joining you from Australia, Saturday evening here. The very last of daylight is dipping away. Perfect time for our nocturnal animals to be heading out. So thanks for your comment there, Rob Mac. Yeah, there's actually, it's incredible how much activity there is at nighttime. It's a completely different world. And yeah, so thank you for your comment. Actually, my sisters live in Australia, so, and hopefully they're also tuning in. Okay, let's see if we can see some Ellies perhaps at Cirondella. Let's see what's happening over there. Oh, fantastic. So what is live at the waterhole without an elephant sighting? So it looks like we've got a hippo as well in the foreground. And of course they'll be enjoying a nice bath on a warm day. So at Hoedspruit it's about 29 degrees maximum today, 29 degrees Celsius, so quite a warm day, not the hottest it gets over there, but maybe if it were hotter the elephants would be completely submerged, or perhaps mud bathing more, but it's a relatively mild day for Hoedspruit. So Nolene says, beautiful sight to start off our day with. So thank you for that comment, Nolene. Martha says, nature is awesome. We enjoy every moment of viewing. Thank you for that comment, Martha. I think it's such a great privilege to be able to see all these wonderful places live and interactive to our, brought to us live and interactive to our homes, and so it's just fantastic to be able to appreciate the animal behavior and just the phenomenal sightings that we have in all our locations brought to us from Africa.
some ellies that we're approaching now.
Light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines. Experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife. And stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
A mild day over here in Cape Town, but yeah, it's quite a nice reprieve from the very cold and wet winter that we had. So Yaneman is asking, would we see aardvark at night? And yes, that you definitely would see aardvark. They're nocturnal animals, and they're actually very important in the ecosystem, especially in the savannah, because they dig these big burrows which many other animals use, like warthog, jackal, even monitor lizards, and so they are what we refer to as ecosystem engineers. So they're very important in shaping the ecosystem or the environment, making nice homes for other animals to use. Okay, seeing as there's not too much going on over here at the moment, let's see what's happening at Tembe Elephant Park in northern KwaZulu-Natal. Okay, so we've got quite a large group of impala in front here. It looks like a harem, so it's mostly just females because the female impala don't have horns. So typically you'll find a large group of females like this with a dominant male. The male will allow some younger males to accompany the group, but as long as they sort of remain subordinate and don't try and mate with the dominant male's females. So you also get bachelor herds. So you'll have groups of males which stick together, and so they form a group which is strength in numbers. A lot more eyes for vigilance, to look out for danger. Okay, so let's leave these impala ewes in peace. Let's see maybe if there's something exciting happening at Moela Lodge. Okay, it looks like a little bit more excitement in view for us. Lots of elephants. They're having a very important discussion over here. And the zebra on the fringes, busy eavesdropping. It's quite interesting to see. It looks like they're all sort of drinking water from a very specific spot in the middle of the pond over there. Perhaps that spot isn't as... Oh, okay, I can see that. It's almost like a trough. Okay. Now I can see a bit better. It looks like there's a sort of a trough over there. Maybe there's water coming out of that trough. Maybe borehole water being bumped to those elephants there. Yeah, you can see there's water being pumped out over there. So Boyson says, today we woke up to rain in Zeerust, and watching this show is a total bonus. So thank you, Boyson. It's definitely, you can just imagine yourself at one of these locations, just soaking up the warmth and the sun rays, and perhaps going for a little dip in the waterhole if you're brave enough. But yeah, hopefully you get some nice weather soon, Boyson. So Leela is asking, is it true that elephants have good memories and can remember things long after they have happened? So yes, it is true, Leela. So elephants, especially the matriarch, is very good at remembering different locations where there's good foraging, where there's good food to eat, where there's nice fresh water coming from rivers or waterholes. And so the research shows that these matriarchs are able to so the matriarchs are able to remember waterholes from 10 years prior, so they've got an incredible memory, and it would be very difficult for humans to sort of comprehend how well they remember things, but they do have an incredible memory. So let's see what's happening at some of our other locations. I couldn't hear now which location exactly. Okay, we're here at Simbavati. So that's also in the low veld of South Africa, which is the sort of northeastern region, which has a lot of the savanna biome within that region. And a lot of our wonderful safari animals that we typically see tend to be located in these areas. Of course, the impala, which are very abundant in the low veld. And then you have, of course, the big five, which you find on many game reserves around Hoedspruit and around, well, in Mpumalanga and Limpopo. Of course, the Kruger National Park is located in 2 provinces in South Africa, so Mpumalanga and Limpopo, and it's sort of on the eastern boundary of both provinces. So it's a very long park, so it stretches very far from the north to the south, but it's very narrow in that from east to west it's not very large, but lovely to go visit. If you haven't already, definitely should be high up on the bucket list.
Oh, There's a leopard. I've got a leopard here. My name is Cedric, and behind the camera with me we've got Muscles and Paul. Well, it is Feline Friday.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Oh, she's gonna catch it.
Come on, Tommy. Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am. If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. Become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every Safari Live episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature.
We were getting a bit worried there, seeing as we haven't seen elephant at Ordonio this morning. But they did get the memo that they have to be here for the show. So Joyce Brown says, love starting my day watching Wild Earth. It's a great day here in Lake District, but the site that I'm looking at is beautiful. So the Lake District is there in England, for those viewers who don't know. And I was also fortunate enough at one point to visit the Lake District, and it's also a wonderful wildlife haven. But of course it is really lovely to see the African wildlife, as we're very spoilt over here in Africa with these large mammals and such a massive diversity of birds and plants and reptiles. So we're truly spoilt over here in Africa. And where I live in Cape Town, we have a very unique biome called the fynbos biome, and there's so many species which are endemic to this region, so they occur nowhere else on Earth except for in this Western Cape region. And it's just, I think in one lifetime you'll never be able to see all of the different fynbos species. It's just incredible. And most of my guiding experience and my knowledge of nature comes from, more specifically, the Lowveld region and And so I'm not too familiar with the Fynbos region, but I'm slowly getting to learn more about it. And there's also a very incredible diversity of birds down here, which you don't find in the low veld. So there's always a silver lining. So Gator Girl is asking, do elephants prefer fresh water? And they most certainly do. As you'll see at a lot of these water holes, they tend to go for the fresher water. They don't like the murky, muddy water, and they'll go the fresher the better. So I've said in the show before, in places that I've worked, the elephants have been known to rip out pipes out of the ground. They dig the soil up with their tusks, and then they pull out the pipes with their tusks or their trunks, and then they access that fresh water, and it becomes quite a headache for those in charge of managing lodges or reserves that have to be the stand-in plumber, because it's not easy for many of these lodges to get a plumber in, and if they do get a plumber in, the call-out fee is huge, as you can imagine, because they're located in the middle of nowhere. So Rob Max says, we saw a pangolin while on safari in the Waterberg. Very special. Apart from humans, what would predate on pangolin? So it's a good question, Rob. So there's lots of different animals which would prey on pangolin. So of course they've got a very hard exterior with their scales, and they roll up into a ball to protect themselves against predators, but they can still, the lions can sometimes pierce or get to a soft spot, which is their belly, and pierce the skin there, and they're able to kill the pangolin that way. And so yeah, lions, leopards would go for a pangolin, even a hyena. So that's an incredible sighting, Rob. I've only seen a pangolin once in the wild in all my years of guiding, and it was also not the best sighting. It was in a burrow, so I couldn't get a very good view of it, but it was also when I just started guiding, so it was quite a while ago, and I haven't seen one since. But I did see a dead pangolin before I started guiding at another game reserve. So a lot of these reserves have a trip wire, so with an electric fence, they've got a wire that goes along the bottom of the fence, and sometimes pangolins, when they try and climb over that wire, they shock their bellies, and then the immediate response would be to coil up into a ball, and in doing that, then they just keep on electrocuting themselves. So it's a terrible death, and so I saw a pangolin, the aftermath of that unfortunate incident, and the person who showed it to me said that it's probably the first and the last time I'll ever see a pangolin. Unfortunately, I did see an alive one in the wild after that, but it just shows you how incredibly rare it is to see a pangolin. And most of these game drives that we go on happen during the day, and because it's sometimes the reserves prefer not to do night drives, as they want to control the human activity happening on the reserve, in case of any poaching activity. And so it's very seldom that one actually sees pangolin, and because they're quite small, it's not very common to see them. Well, I'm speaking more specifically about in South Africa. I don't know about the rest of Africa. Maybe in West Africa or Central Africa you get these ball pangolins, these pangolins which you find in trees, and they're apparently a bit more common than the pangolins that you find in South Africa. So let's see what's happening at some of our other locations. I didn't quite get where we're going to next. Wow, what an incredible sighting. We have a couple of crocodiles. We have 3 crocodiles feeding on a zebra carcass. I did see that yesterday there was loads of white-backed vultures there here at this carcass, and I'm not too sure. I think Ben only identified this carcass yesterday, so I'm not sure how this poor zebra died, but I think it might have been from natural causes. But wow, this is a very special treat to be able to see this. 3 crocodiles, as far as I can tell, are feeding on the zebra over here. They look quite young, these crocodiles. So they're not very good at chewing their food, or they can't really chew, they just bite off chunks of flesh, or they rip it off with their very powerful jaws and their sharp teeth. But they can't chew their food, so they swallow it whole. And so you can see this is not as sort of animated as a lion kill, because the lions will be munching away, but this is, it seems like quite a slow sort of meal or feast, because I think they're making calculated decisions as to which chunk of meat they're going to try and pull off next. I think these crocodiles are just, or crocodiles in general, reptiles are just fascinating creatures. And we believe they've been around since the dinosaurs over 65 million years ago. And it's just testament to how well adapted they are. So most of their senses, they can keep their whole body submerged while their senses are above the water. So they've got their eyes and their nostrils and their hearing holes. I want to say rather than ears, because they don't have a typical ear. But that can all be above the water, and they're also, with the way their body looks, they're very well camouflaged. And so it's a very clever strategy to be able to ambush their prey that comes to the waterhole. So keeping their whole bodies submerged and just keeping their eyes, ears and nose above the water, so that they can hear, see and smell what's going on while they're very well hidden. Sure, so there's, I count 4 crocodiles at this zebra feast over here. Wow, what a special treat. They're just so cool. They're just really cool to see. I love reptiles. And I know they're not generally very popular, but I just think they're fascinating the way they've evolved and adapted to their environments. And so also one of the most incredible facts about crocodiles, well, I believe, is that they're able to stay underwater for up to an hour. And the way they do this is by slowing their heart rate down to about 2 to 3 beats per minute. So I just think that's really cool. Imagine you were able to do that, slow your heart rate down to 3 beats per minute. That's just fascinating. So 2 Discos Dave says, good morning everyone from a cool northwest England. Good to be back at the waterhole after a few weeks away. And it's great to have you back, 2 Discos Dave. I've also been away for a while. The last show I did was on the 4th of October, so it's been a minute. And I'm very happy to be back. It's very exciting to be back. And it's exciting to have you here, 2 Discos Dave. So, like I said earlier, hopefully watching the nice warm weather here in Africa can maybe trick your brain into thinking that you're also warm. So Lucy Khudi is asking, are there any warthogs at Oldonyo? And I'd imagine there would be. I think, I can't see why there wouldn't be warthog there. I haven't seen them myself, but yeah, I definitely would imagine there would be warthog there. It's the right sort of habitat environment for warthog. So Mr. Elemental, nice to have you commenting, thank you. Mr. Elemental says, the big croc must have dragged it into the water to make a stew. So definitely made a nice zebra stew, and now the rest of the crocs are enjoying the big zebra stew feast. And hopefully the zebra didn't suffer too much before it passed. But it's the cycle of life, or the circle of life. And I believe that energy flows from, or there's a law in nature that says, energy isn't created or destroyed, it just flows from one organism to the next, or one thing to the next. So maybe that zebra's energy is somewhere else. So maybe a nice way of looking at it, that death isn't final, it's just a phase in life. Okay, let's link to Roy's Dam. Let's see what's happening over there. Okay, so looks like we've got some terrapin, some marsh terrapin over here, just busy enjoying the sun.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh! Woo! This is action-packed.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
So Lucy Goody is asking, how do crocodiles communicate? And so I know that baby crocodiles have these vocalizations. I'm not going to try and imitate them right now, but it's quite unusual for something like a reptile, like a crocodile. It's these very high-pitched squeaks. But as far as the adults are concerned, I'm not entirely sure how they would communicate, but normally crocodiles, when they become adults, they are solitary, so they wouldn't really communicate with each other to sort of hunt, and that maybe they would communicate to advertise their territories, but not so much like you find with lions. They communicate while they're hunting as a means to sort of coordinate themselves while they're hunting. So Diane from Cape Town. So hi Diane. Diane is asking, she's commenting, it is a blessing to see and hear all about wildlife and their behavior. Circle of life is so amazing. Thanks to all at Wild Earth. So thank you very much, Diane. It is just truly a blessing to see all of this wonderful nature at play, just seeing how the circle of life continues, and it's truly incredible to be able to see this stuff live. It's really fantastic. So Gator Girl is asking, have I ever witnessed a kill by a croc or a lion or any other predator? And so I haven't ever witnessed a crocodile taking down its prey, but I have seen lions take down a warthog before. And let me tell you, it's a horrible thing to hear, the warthog dying a slow and painful death. So these kills are not always as it's everyone seems to think that it's amazing to see a kill, which it can be very exciting and thrilling, but unfortunately the animal that gets killed sometimes suffers quite a horrific death. So so it's a lot of the time guests want to see a kill, but then when they actually see it, it's quite unsettling, and they kind of wish they hadn't seen it. That was one kill that I saw. I need to think of some of the other kills that I've seen, but at some of the places that I've worked along the Olifants River, at some of the lodges where they've had dogs, I know of one particular lady who lost 2 dogs to crocodiles, and one guy who was attacked by a crocodile. And so they are very dangerous, but I've never seen a crocodile take anything out before. So Mohammed Paruk is asking, after a kill, can predators eat the meat for days after without being affected by the meat spoiling? So yes, the predators' digestive systems are much better adapted for handling putrid meat than human digestive tracts. So we've become so used to cooking our food, which makes it easier to digest, and which also kills off any nasty bacteria or any sort of nasty or tiny microorganisms that could be in the meat. And so leopards and lions, and as you can see, crocodiles, they're able to handle this meat that's gone rotten or spoiled. But I think I'm not entirely sure when it's too bad for them to eat, but I think the digestive acid in their stomachs is very strong, a lot stronger than ours, so it's able to sort of handle this spoiled or putrid meat. So please do keep those comments and those questions coming in. It's been so nice to answer your questions, and it's so lovely to hear your comments. So please do keep them coming. As you can see on the screen, you can connect with us on WhatsApp or X, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. So any of those platforms, remember to communicate with us. Okay, so it looks like we're at Old Donyo again. It seems like when you have all these zebra at the waterhole that this is a very small waterhole, but in fact it isn't that small, but when it's crowded like this it appears to be. And it's interesting that this particular elephant doesn't seem to too worried about the zebra. In fact, this elephant looks very, very relaxed, very docile. Almost looks half asleep. You can see the zebra flicking their tails, trying to ward off any flies or other nasty insects. The insects are attracted to the feces on their bottoms. Okay, let's see. Perhaps there's something happening at Jackie's Dam. Here at Jackie's Dam, there's not too much happening here, but we just have a bit of a technical issue, so if you just bear with us for a short while. It looks like a lovely day with a slight breeze here at Jackie's Dam. Doesn't that water just look so inviting? I love to swim, so just looking at these water holes just makes me itch to go for a swim. So please do remember to, as I mentioned earlier, keep those comments and the questions rolling in. Yeah, I see it looks like we've got some doves over here. It looks like a laughing dove, perhaps. I can't really see. So it seems that the technical issues have been sorted now, so we're going to head back to El Doño. Okay, and looks like we've got a couple more visitors at El Doño. I've mentioned this before, but I just think it's incredible how the variety of animals, or sort of like the composition of animals, changes just within a few minutes. Like one moment you'll be seeing just elephant, and then the next you have 4 different species, and then the next you have hundreds of zebra at the waterhole. So it's just, especially this particular waterhole at El Doño, it never ceases to disappoint in terms of sightings. And so in some places, some lodges, you're quite spoiled. You don't have to go on a game drive. You can literally just sit at the lodge and the animals will come to you, so you don't actually have to go through all the effort of driving around the park, where sometimes you don't see anything. So I remember some of the places that I've worked, or the last place where I was in a game reserve. I was very lucky to live close to a waterhole, and I would often, pretty much on a daily basis, have elephants visit the waterhole. So I was incredibly lucky. And sometimes I'd have lion at the waterhole in the night time. And on one occasion, I heard some lions outside my window that had made a kill. They'd killed a female warthog, and so that was very exciting. Obviously not as exciting for the warthog, but as I said, it's a circle of life. So Bradley Hewitt is asking, how many liters of water can an elephant hold in its trunk when drinking? So Bradley, anywhere between 6 to 10 liters, depending on the size of the elephant. So, and that's just to the water that they're able to hold within their trunk and at any given time. But of course they're able to drink up to 200 liters of water in a day, which is, it's quite hard to fathom how much water that is. I think most people in the world don't even use 200 liters of water in a day. So that's, for their cooking and cleaning and all of that. So it's quite remarkable. So Brad from Paul, hi Brad, is asking, what tree other than a marula tree is the best for making alcohol? So there's a couple of, not so much trees, but I'm aware of at least these bushes, which we call, you have the brandy bush and you have the raisin bush, and they create these small fruit, quite hard fruit, these little berry-looking fruit, and the people have used that in the past they ferment those fruit and they create a sort of an alcoholic beverage from that. They allow that to ferment and they use that. And so the marula tree is sometimes called the amarula tree, but it's only the liqueur that's called amarula. So the tree itself is known as a marula tree. And yeah, the drink is very lovely. It's like a creamy liqueur, and it's nice to sort of sip on, but you're not really able to mix it with many different things, but with some ice, it's very nice. Sometimes people use it in their coffee if you want a little bit of to feel good in the morning with a cup of coffee and some marula, especially if you're in the bush to treat yourself, then that's always nice. And then some people use it to make dishes with, to bake malva pudding with, which is very nice. And yeah, so many different uses of the marula fruit and the amarula beverage. So I hope that answers your question, Brad. I'll have to do some more research onto other trees that you can use to make an alcoholic beverage with. So Victor Michael says, what a sighting, watching from Zimbabwe. It's such a great pleasure to have you here, Victor, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show and the sightings. This is always very special to have old Donyo being fed to us from Kenya. So, always fantastic sightings. See, there's lots of oxpeckers on that giraffe's back over there. Those birds that frequent many different mammal species that allow it on its back. So the smallest species that allows, or mammal species, shall I say, that allows oxpeckers on its back is a warthog, and then the largest would probably be a giraffe. And so they feed on those ticks and any other external parasites on the giraffe's body, or the impala or zebra. And so they can be very beneficial. They can also be quite harmful when they peck at wounds, and so sometimes the wounds will take longer to heal because these oxpeckers are feeding on the ticks or whatever it is that is close to the wound. So Mohammed Paruk is asking, are the stripes on a zebra unique? And that's a good question, Mohammed. They are all unique, much like our fingerprints. All zebras have a different stripe pattern, and there's also different stripe patterns between the different species. So you get 3 species of zebra, and the plains one, which we see in picture, or they were just in picture, but they've now left. So they've got stripes that go down from their back, from their spine to along their sides to their belly, and they stop at their belly. So their belly is like white, and then they have the stripes along their sides and on their bums, along their necks, and so yes, the other species, they have the stripes going along their bellies. So they do have different stripe patterns, the different zebra species, and they all can be identified. If you have a keen eye and lots of time, you can try and identify individual zebra based on the pattern. So Kim Faustino says, I love Old Donyo the most. And I probably would also pick Old Donyo as my favorite spot because there's always just so much to talk about over here. There's always an animal. And then, of course, seeing Kilimanjaro in the background on a clear day is always such a treat. So Roger is asking if I could witness one unique elephant behavior in the wild, whether it's their problem-solving tool use or a specific social ritual. What would I choose and why? So that's quite a loaded question, Roger, but thank you for asking that. No, that is very good. I probably would like to see, although it's quite sad, but I would like to see. I've always heard that elephants mourn the death of their loved ones, of the herd members. I've never seen that. Of course, it would be quite a moving sight and sad sight to see. But I'm just curious to see what it would, whether they do actually mourn in that way. So. Yeah, I think that is quite a unique behavior of elephants, and I think that would be quite fascinating to see, also very moving. So Roger, would you share with us what you would like to see? The elephants are incredibly intelligent, and they're way more intelligent than we give them credit for, so...
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold, a mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
So please do keep those questions and comments coming through. So Mr. Wright is asking, what could be the reason behind elephants' weak or what appears to be weak digestive systems? So obviously elephants have very large bodies, and so they tend to eat a lot to sustain those massive bodies of theirs. So I'm not quite entirely sure why they would have adapted that way, but it would make sense for them to have a more efficient digestive system. So for those who don't know, elephants can only really absorb about 40% of the nutrients in the food that they eat. So they've got what we'd probably refer to as like not a very efficient digestive system, but they do play a very important role in with all the different things that they eat, like the roots and the bark and the leaves and all sorts of things that they eat. They play a very important role in the ecosystem, in the environment. They're also what we refer to as ecosystem engineers, and so they are very important in maintaining a balance in the savanna, so making sure there's a good balance between trees and grasses in the savanna. So this sort of supports a lot more diversity in mammal and other animal species. So perhaps that was some sort of trade-off that they have, some sort of trade-off that they have, that they are able to be a bit bigger, but they have to eat a bit more, and so maybe they fill like a specific ecological niche which hadn't been filled by another animal. So that's a good question, and I'll have to do a bit more research on that, Mr. Wright. So Lion Lloyd is asking, do different species of zebra, are they able to crossbreed? So are the different species of zebra able to crossbreed? My apologies. So yes, they would be able to crossbreed, but the problem is the offspring that they create would not be able to reproduce. So it's kind of nature's way of preventing that that crossbreeding, so the species don't reproduce further, and so you do get, for example, in they've in the past they've created like hybrids of lions and tigers called ligers, and you have mixes between or hybrids of a zebra and a horse called a zorse, and so yes, you do get these weird hybrids, but they aren't then able to reproduce further. So I'm not entirely sure why that would be, but it's sort of just nature's way of preventing the cross breeding of species. So Shelley has quite an interesting question over here. Shelley says that some scientists believe elephants could play a key role in combating climate change by maintaining ecosystems like savanna and forests. How might we better integrate their ecological contributions into global environmental strategies? So, as I mentioned, elephants do play a very important role in the ecosystem and the environment as seed dispersers and in maintaining their habitats, like the savanna, maintaining that balance of trees and grasses. And also their dung is very good at fertilizing the soil. So yeah, the elephants are very important. And to answer your question of how might we better integrate the ecological contributions into these global environmental strategies, I would have to say that we would have to put a lot more money into research, into the research of elephants, and so in the current day and age, research is what is the most sort of respected in terms of what can be implemented, because people only believe in or I'd say probably most people believe in the scientific method and by conducting research using the scientific method. So I'd say if you can prove that elephants have such an important role in the ecosystem, and you have clever ways of communicating that information, because oftentimes the research done, I see the elephant is now moved. Now he's having a little bit of a mud bath, or just stroking his tusk quite sensually over there.
See you out on the safari.
It could be a very exciting morning.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got her impala, everybody.
and we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
How cool is this?
Like, for example, these oryx over here to the right. Maybe the oryx aren't as spooked because they've got these really long and sharp horns on their heads, and so they're better able to defend themselves, whereas the zebra has a mean kick, but it doesn't have these horns which they can use to defend themselves against predators. And so zebras have a very good, they have got excellent hearing, and they've got very good eyesight and smell, and so anything that they sort of deem as a threat would spook them. So if they hear something approaching, or if they see something that moves fast in their periphery, then that might spook them because they don't have that, they aren't able to face the threat head on with horns or something like that. So their first response, or their immediate response, would be to try and get away from the threat as quickly as possible, so they would be able to bolt off. And so they're very, very quick, very good at escaping the predators. So I just quickly had to double check, but yeah, zebras can run up to 65 kilometers per hour, so that is very, very fast. And I see there's these videos nowadays online on YouTube and that, where they've taken AI and they've shown the sort of comparisons of the different animals. So they compare like a domestic dog to the speed of a cheetah or a greyhound or something, and then they show you a simulation of if they had to run against each other in a race, who would win. So that's quite interesting to see if you ever have the time to look that up. Okay, let's see what's happening at Jabulani. Okay, so we're now at Jabulani Safari Lodge, and we've got what looks like a female giraffe in our image over here. It's definitely very cautious, making very calculated moves, making sure that there's no predators around. Okay. And off she goes. So Jabulani Safari Camp is located in Kapama, which is a very big private game reserve close to the airport in Hoedspruit. So there's a nice airport there in Hoedspruit which one is able to go to. So yeah, it's nice to see Kapama featuring over here. But so as we don't have this giraffe in picture anymore, I think let's head off to Nkoro. Sorry, my apologies. It's Nguma that we are at now, and we've got a marabou stork in picture, elephant that just passed, and some lapwings, blacksmith lapwings, running around frantically. Quite a big elephant, this. Very large, chunky, looks like a male. So Nara was asking if you could ask an elephant one question, assuming you could understand its response, what would it be, and why do you think its answer could change the way we view the natural world? Excuse me. That's a very interesting question, Nora, and thank you for your question. And very deep question, actually. It would be amazing, though, to be like a Dr. Dolittle and to be able to speak to animals. I think that would be an incredible superpower. But I think I would like to have more than one question. I think I would like to have a nice conversation with an elephant and just hear what he has to say about humans and how we're able to sort of fix our society, because I feel like our society is a little bit broken at the moment. Maybe I'd ask the elephant how we could fix things. How can humans be more like elephants? How can we be more cooperative and more empathetic and just more understanding and tolerant of one another? But I'll have to think about your question a little bit more, Nara. So what would you ask the elephant? I think the elephant would have a lot to say, for sure. I mean, and with the incredible memory, if maybe you got angry with Mr. Elephant maybe 10 years ago, he'll still remember what you said to him when you were angry. So you need to be very careful what you say to the elephant. But I've been fortunate enough in my guiding career to spend quite a significant amount of time with elephants or close to them, and sometimes it's almost as if you can telepathically communicate with the elephant. Like, the elephant is quite expressive in its body language, and it's almost as if they are communicating with you when you spend some time with a particular elephant. So yeah, it is just about reading the body language and just about being present with the animal, and obviously respecting the distance. because you don't want to trespass their bubble. You don't want to get too close to them where they feel like you're a bit of a threat. It's a beautiful bull, that. And so one of the ways, besides looking at the morphology or like the build of the elephant, that you can tell it's a bull, is that if you look at the size, of course he's a very large, thick, chunky elephant, but you can see he's alone. So normally the bulls will be alone, they'll travel alone, whereas the females tend to move around in a herd, which is led by the matriarch. So they have a matriarchy, and so one sure way, it's not sure, but one way that you could tell that an elephant is male or female would be by looking at who's accompanying that particular elephant. And more often than not, if it doesn't have anyone accompanying it, then it's probably a bull. Okay, let's see what's happening at Lentore in Kenya. Oh, there you can get a nice view of the beautiful coat of the zebra. So it would seem, trying to make out what species of zebra this is. So this looks like Grevy's zebra, I would say, because the plain zebra has the stripes which end just before the belly, so they don't wrap all the way around. And so the Grevy zebra has those stripes that go all the way around. Now I just need to make sure that my facts are correct. So the mountain zebra also has those black stripes that go all the way around the belly. It really looks like a lovely day there in the Great Rift Valley. These zebra are just enjoying a nice drink on a Saturday afternoon. You can see their manes aren't very thick and long. Seems like the one on the right has quite a short mane, unlike on the plain zebra, which has a longer mane. So Mr. Elemental says Lentore waterhole looks nice today. It looks very peaceful over there, and it's a very magnificent view that we have of the zebra at the moment. A very unique camera angle that we have of the zebra. So Henry Mancini, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. So Henry says, on a lighter topic, we recently went to a wedding where each speaker had a musical theme as they walked up. What musical theme would you put to an animal? To what animal? Baby elephant walk is very cute. So I like to imagine that zebras, as they move, they sort of bob their heads around, and I like to think that they're listening to some hard rock. So maybe I would maybe the zebra are listening to Nirvana or something like that. Maybe Smells Like Teen Spirit, because they also look very punk rock with their manes and the black and white bodies, and so I would imagine I'd maybe put Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit to these zebra. Okay, let's see what's happening on the Boteti River at Moela. Lots and lots of activity here. Looks like there's also a lot more water. This little pond over here. You can see those elephants still enjoying the fresh water that's being pumped. See that water hole there? So Alida Herbst, so that's my mom who's asking, is it true that giraffes have one of the biggest hearts? And yes, it's true that relative to their body size, they have the biggest heart. So as I was mentioning earlier, giraffes have a heart which can weigh up to 15 kilograms. And as I also mentioned, they need this big heart this big muscle to sort of pump all that blood to the extremities of their body. So it needs to be pumped at quite a force to fight gravity and get up to its head and to its brain. So thanks for the question, Alida, aka Mommy. Nice to know that you're listening in to the show. So Nick is asking, or saying rather, picture an elephant entering a talent show, and then Nick goes on to say, what act would they perform? Maybe a trunk juggling routine or a synchronized herd dance? And how would they win over the crowd? So it's a very interesting imagination you have there, Nick. So I would have to think about that. Perhaps, maybe they would do a synchronized dance. I think that would be quite cool. Or maybe a dance off with the zebra. Maybe they'll be dancing off, like having a crazy dance-off battle with the rhino or the hippopotamus, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you would have to say.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Best sighting I've presented, I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala, we got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, that was amazing, everybody.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Wild Earth Travel's newsletter is your passport to a magical journey. Explore exclusive travel options featuring special offers at stunning Wild Earth locations and all hosted by your favorite presenters. Don't miss out. Head over to our website and subscribe to the Wild Earth Travel newsletter today and stay in the know on all our unforgettable adventures. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
The gene which codes for bigger tusks, and so unfortunately through centuries of hunting, so hunters, trophy hunters typically go for those big elephants with the big tusks, or what we refer to as big tuskers. And so the more those big elephants with the big tusks get removed from the gene pool, the less likely we are to then find other elephants with big tusks. So that's an unfortunate sort of response that has happened to hunting, many years of hunting in Africa. But fortunately today there's more sort of stricter protocol in place when it comes to hunting, and so the elephants are much better protected in that regard. And interestingly, in parks like Addo, the tusks, you'll find some elephants that don't have tusks, and so there's different arguments as to why that is. But one of the arguments is that they don't have tusks because the elephants over there don't need the tusks as much because of the environment. They don't need to, as the elephants would in the low veld, in areas like the Kruger. The elephants over there are dependent a lot more on bark, for example, from trees. So they need their tusks to peel off the bark from the trees or the inner cambium, and so the elephant in Addo and in the Eastern Cape, they typically eat this plant called a speckworm, and so it's quite abundant in those areas, so they don't need to use their tusks as much. But that is just one theory, so there's lots of different theories as to why it is that they don't have tusks. And of course the younger elephants would have smaller tusks, and then they grow continuously throughout their lives, but they do get worn down if they use their tusks a lot for digging or, as I mentioned, for peeling bark. And what's quite interesting is that you can tell which is an elephant's more dominant side by looking at the tusks. So if you see the tusk is more worn on the left-hand side, and you, much like humans, have a preferred side of using the left or the right hands, or much like so elephants also have a preferred side, so they might use their left tusk more than their right. So Maya Ant has corrected me, so thank you for that, Maya. She says mountain zebra have white stomachs. The stripes do not go all the way around the stomach. So thanks for that correction over there, Maya. So I am only human. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge, but I do rely on my experiences to inform you, but I do make mistakes, so I do apologize. So Spas Yankov says synchronized tail wagging is definitely what zebras are good at. So you could also maybe put some music to the tail wagging, or you could play it in slow-mo and perhaps play some music to that. Okay, let's see what's happening at Mena Okwena. Okay, so now we're on the Botete River in Botswana at Mena Okwena, and we've got, looks like these elephants have recently taken a mud bath.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
that have a matriarchal structure. So hyenas also have a matriarchal structure. So you have the oldest hyena, a female, which would lead the clan, and so yes, it's much like elephants in that regard. So the oldest and wisest would then lead the clan. So would any of the other listeners want to share another example of a matriarchal structure in mammals? Oh, look at that cute little baby elephant in picture there. Isn't that just adorable? And so, Mommy, I don't know how to use my trunk. What is this appendage hanging from my face? Okay, so it's been a really nice show today. I see we don't have much time left, but I would just like to thank all of the people that tuned in today. I really do appreciate the questions and the comments, and it really does make the show fly by, in my opinion. When we do have these comments and questions, it makes my life a lot easier, but I really did enjoy today, and I'm very grateful for all the viewers, and I hope everyone has a magnificent Saturday, whatever you decide to do. And remember not to take yourself too seriously, and yeah, just be present in the moment and live life to the fullest. It's been a very exciting show today. I think my highlight would have been the crocodiles, which we saw in the beginning, feeding on the zebra carcass. But hopefully we have some more cool sightings tomorrow. Have a lovely day and a weekend. See you soon.